The cold gel on my stomach should have been the focus, but as the ultrasound tech smiled and pointed to the tiny heartbeat on the screen, I saw it. Andre's eyes weren't on the screen or me. They were locked on the tall, blonde doctor who had just stepped into the room with a clipboard and a casual smile. And in that instant, our silent pregnancy and hidden love began to unravel like thread pulled too tight. I forced a laugh, pretending the flutter in my chest was excitement for the baby Emily was carrying for us, but my hands clenched the edge of the exam table until my knuckles turned white. We had been together for 3 years in our quiet apartment in Seattle, a city that promised acceptance but still made us careful. Andre, with his sharp lawyer's suits and steady voice, had convinced me that keeping everything private was the only way to protect what we had built. My parents back in Chicago still sent me articles about settling down with a nice girl. Their traditional expectations rooted in the Vietnamese American community they clung to even after 20 years in the States. Andre's family in Texas was no different. Church every Sunday, questions about grandkids that always came with a side of disappointment when he dodged them. So we chose silence. Emily, our mutual friend from college, had offered to be the surrogate after her own divorce, saying it would be her way of giving back to the friendship that got her through the rough years. The contract was signed in a lawyer's office downtown. No fanfare, just Andre's hand squeezing mine under the table while we wired the first payment from our joint savings. That day in the ultrasound room, everything felt possible until it didn't. The doctor, Dr. Ryan, his name tag read, explained the next steps in a warm, professional tone, but Andre's gaze lingered a second too long when Ryan turned to adjust the monitor. I told myself it was nothing. Andre had always been the steady one, the one who planned our future in spreadsheets and late-night talks about how we'd raise this child without the world knowing until we were ready. But as we left the clinic and stepped into the rainy Seattle afternoon, the silence between us felt heavier than the umbrella we shared. "You okay?" he asked, his voice casual as he unlocked the car. I nodded, sliding into the passenger seat, but my mind replayed the moment like a film loop I couldn't pause. Back home, I busied myself in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner while Andre reviewed case files at the island. Our apartment overlooked Puget Sound, the gray water mirroring the clouds outside, a perfect backdrop for the life we had carved out in secret. Emily texted a photo of her growing bump, captioning it, "Baby's first selfie. Thanks again, guys." I smiled at the screen, but when Andre glanced over and chuckled, I caught him checking his phone again right after. The notification was from an unknown number. Nothing unusual for a lawyer, I told myself. Yet the seed of doubt had been planted in that bright room, and it grew quietly through the evening as we ate and talked about baby names. Neutral ones like Jordan or Taylor, nothing that would raise eyebrows if family ever visited. The next morning, I headed to my graphic design studio downtown, sketching logos for a local nonprofit while my thoughts drifted. Andre and I had met at a mutual friend's housewarming party 3 years earlier. He was the guy in the corner nursing a beer, laughing at my awkward joke about the terrible playlist. Within weeks, our late-night coffees turned into something neither of us could name out loud at first. The fear of losing family support, the whispers at work. Andre's firm was conservative, mine full of well-meaning but nosy colleagues, kept us behind closed doors. But love found cracks anyway. We built rituals, Sunday hikes in the Cascades where no one knew us, quiet anniversaries with takeout and movies, and now this baby, our shared dream wrapped in secrecy. Emily's pregnancy was supposed to be the bridge to a future where we could finally breathe. Instead, I found myself staring at my reflection in the studio window, wondering if Andre's eyes had already started wandering toward a life that didn't include the weight of our silence. By evening, the misunderstanding I tried to ignore escalated when I overheard him on the phone in the hallway. "Yeah, Ryan, that makes sense. Let's grab coffee next week to go over the details." Ryan. The doctor. My stomach dropped. Andre hung up and walked into the living room like nothing happened, kissing my forehead before grabbing his laptop. I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I lay awake that night listening to his even breathing, the city lights casting shadows across our bed. The baby was due in 5 months. We had chosen this path together, sacrificing openness for safety. But as the rain tapped against the window, I realized the real pregnancy. the one I carried in silence, was the fear that our love might not survive the gaze I had witnessed. The following weekend, we drove to Emily's place for a check-in. She lived in a cozy suburban house across the lake, her ex-husband's alimony helping with the bills while she focused on the pregnancy. "You two look exhausted," she teased as we settled on her porch with lemonade. Andre laughed it off, talking about work deadlines, but his phone buzzed again. He stepped inside to answer, leaving Emily and me alone. "Everything good?" she asked, rubbing her belly. I nodded too quickly, but the word stuck. Later, driving home, Andre reached for my hand at a red light. "I love you, Alex. This baby is going to change everything for us." His voice was sincere, but the memory of that ultrasound room lingered like fog. I squeezed back, yet the doubt whispered that maybe love wasn't enough when silence had become our armor, and cracks were starting to show. As weeks passed, the psychological weight pressed harder. At work, my boss praised a campaign I designed for a pride event, unaware it mirrored my own hidden life. Andre buried himself in a big case, coming home late with stories that always seemed to include that new consultant, Ryan. I laughed at the right moments, cooked his favorite meals, but inside, the misunderstanding grew into a quiet storm. One night, after a particularly long day, I found his phone on the counter while he showered. A text preview glowed. "Looking forward to our talk tomorrow, Ryan." My finger hovered, but I set it down. Confrontation would shatter the fragile peace we had. Instead, I poured a glass of wine and stared at the city lights, wondering how a single gaze could unravel years of careful planning. The baby kicked in Emily's belly across town, our future literally growing while our present fractured in ways I wasn't ready to name. Seattle's rain continued, washing the streets clean, but nothing could wash away the unease settling in my chest. The coffee shop downtown buzzed with the usual morning crowd, laptops open and conversations humming, but all I could focus on was Andre across the table, his fingers tapping the rim of his mug as he described the latest case. It had been 2 weeks since the ultrasound, and the tension I felt had become a constant companion, coloring every interaction with invisible question marks. "Ryan's got some great insights on family law precedents," he said casually, eyes lighting up in a way I hadn't seen in months. "Ryan again." I stirred my latte, forcing a smile, while my mind raced back to that sterile room where everything shifted. The surrogate pregnancy was progressing perfectly. Emily sent weekly updates with sonogram pics we pinned to our fridge in secret, but the real complication was unfolding between us, unspoken and growing. That afternoon, I met my best friend Jordan at the gym, the one person who knew the full truth about Andre and me. We had been roommates in college, and Jordan's unwavering loyalty had been the anchor through every doubt. "You look like hell, man," he said, spotting me on the bench press. I confided the details in hushed tones between sets, the gaze, the texts, the way Andre's attention seemed divided. Jordan listened, his expression serious. "Maybe it's work. Lawyers network all the time." But his words didn't ease the knot in my stomach. Later, as we cooled down in the locker room, Jordan clapped my shoulder. "You've built something real with Andre. Don't let one weird moment destroy it. Remember how hard you fought to even admit you loved a guy." His reminder stung with truth. Coming out to myself had been a battle, years of dating women to please my parents. Then the quiet terror when Andre's smile first made my heart race differently. Society's pressure wasn't abstract. It was the sideways glances at family gatherings, the careful pronouns at office parties. Back home, Andre surprised me with tickets to a Mariners game, our favorite escape. We sat in the stands under the open sky, cheering like any other couple, though no one knew we were more than roommates. His arm brushed mine naturally, and for a moment, the old spark returned. "This is what it's all for," he whispered during the 7th-inning stretch, nodding toward a father and son tossing a ball nearby. "Our kid will have that someday, without the hiding." I wanted to believe him. But when his phone lit up with another message and he quickly silenced it, the doubt resurfaced. That night, after the game, we made love in the dim light of our bedroom, tender and familiar, yet my mind wandered to the possibility of betrayal. Not physical, Andre wasn't that kind, but emotional, the slow drift towards someone who didn't carry the same baggage. The next day brought a turning point neither of us saw coming. My mother called from Chicago, her voice bright but probing as always. When are you bringing someone special home, Contre? Your cousin just got engaged. The traditional expectations hit like a wave, reminding me why we kept our world small. I hung up and found Andre in the living room, staring at his laptop with a furrowed brow. Everything okay? I asked. He hesitated, then closed the screen. Just work stress. Ryan's helping with some research. There it was again. I pushed for more, but he changed the subject to Emily's next appointment. We drove to her house that evening, the surrogate glowing with health as she showed us the nursery she was prepping. You two are going to be amazing dads, she said, hugging us both. Andre's smile reached his eyes, but when he stepped outside to take a call, I caught the name on the screen before he answered. Ryan. On the drive home, the conflict escalated. Who keeps calling you? I finally asked, voice tighter than intended. Andre sighed, pulling into our parking garage. It's professional, Alex. He's consulting on the case. Why the third degree? His defensiveness stung. I wanted to scream about the ultrasound, the way his eyes had betrayed us in that bright room, but the words lodged in my throat. Instead, I retreated to the shower, letting the water drown the rising panic. The psychological toll was mounting, sleepless nights replaying every glance, every late text. Friendship with Jordan helped. He came over the next evening with pizza, listening as I unpacked the fears. You've sacrificed so much already, he said. Your family, your peace of mind. Don't add self-doubt to the list. His loyalty was a lifeline, but even he couldn't erase the growing rift. As the second trimester progressed, Emily's belly rounded visibly, forcing us to coordinate visits carefully to avoid nosy neighbors. Andre threw himself into work, but the distance between us widened. One rainy Saturday, we argued over nothing, the grocery list, of all things, and it spilled into the real issue. I saw the way you looked at him, I admitted finally, voice breaking. Andre froze, then pulled me into a hug. It was nothing. I swear. You're the one I chose for this life. His words soothed temporarily, but the misunderstanding lingered like smoke. That night, lying beside him, I traced the curve of his shoulder and wondered if love could withstand the pressure of secrets we both carried. The baby kicked through Emily's texts the next morning, a reminder of our shared future. Yet as I replied with hearts, the truth settled deeper. Our silence wasn't protecting us anymore. It was testing everything we believed in. Weeks blurred into routines strained by unspoken tension. At a work happy hour, colleagues asked about my roommate, and I laughed it off while Andre texted from across the city. Jordan noticed the change during our weekly runs. You're pulling away from him, he warned. Fix it before the baby comes. I nodded, but fixing meant facing the possibility that Andre's heart might be divided. The societal weight pressed from all sides. News stories about couples like us losing custody battles, family gatherings where I smiled through questions about marriage. Andre's family planned a visit soon, and the thought of pretending exhausted me. In quiet moments, I journaled the emotions, pages filled with questions about identity and belonging. Who was I if not the man building this secret family with Andre? The answer scared me as much as the wandering gaze that started it all. Emily's 20-week scan arrived on a crisp autumn morning, leaves turning gold outside the clinic windows. Andre and I sat in the waiting room, our knees touching in silent support, but the air between us crackled with the unresolved tension from weeks of half-truths. When the tech called us back, the room felt smaller than before, the monitor's glow casting shadows on Andre's face. The baby looked perfect, 10 fingers, strong heartbeat, but my eyes kept flicking to Andre, searching for any sign of distraction. This time, Dr. Ryan wasn't there, yet the memory haunted the moment. Emily joined via video from home, waving excitedly as measurements flashed on screen. Our little miracle, Andre murmured, squeezing my hand. For a fleeting second, I believed we could move past it. But that evening, everything changed. Jordan called me at the studio, voice urgent. Alex, I ran into Andre at the courthouse today. He was having coffee with that doctor guy, Ryan. Looked pretty intense. The news hit like a punch. I drove home in a daze, the city traffic blurring through tears I refused to let fall. When Andre walked in later, briefcase in hand, I confronted him in the kitchen. Coffee with Ryan? while I'm at work wondering if our whole life is a lie. He set the bag down slowly, expression guarded. It was work, Alex. The case is complicated. He's an expert. But his eyes shifted, just like in the ultrasound room, and the betrayal I feared crystallized. The secret pregnancy, meant to unite us, now highlighted the fractures, his divided attention, my growing insecurity. The misunderstanding exploded into our first real fight. Words flew about family expectations, the weight of hiding, how my parents' calls left me hollow while his family demanded updates on his single life. I chose you, Andre shouted, voice cracking for the first time. The baby, this apartment, everything. But you keep pushing me away with suspicions. I slammed the bedroom door, collapsing onto the bed as sobs shook me. The psychological toll peaked. I questioned everything. My identity as a man who loved another man in a world that still whispered judgments. The friendship with Jordan that now felt like the only safe harbor. Andre slept on the couch that night, and the silence in our home mirrored the one we had imposed on our relationship. The next day brought the major turning point. Emily texted that she was spotting a minor scare that sent us rushing to the hospital. In the ER waiting room, amid beeping machines and worried families, Andre's phone rang. Ryan again. This time, I saw the screen. On my way, need to talk about us. Us. The word shattered the last illusion. Andre stepped away to answer, and when he returned, his face was pale. It's not what you think, he started, but I cut him off. The gaze in that room, the texts, the coffee. Tell me the truth, Andre. He sank into a chair, hands trembling. The secret spilled out. Ryan was an old college acquaintance, reaching out professionally at first, but lately offering conversations that felt easier than our strained ones. No affair, but emotional support Andre sought because the pressure of our hidden life, of traditional families expecting straight success, of society labeling us, had worn him down. I never stopped loving you, he said, tears in his eyes. But I was scared to admit how heavy the silence feels. The revelation forced us to confront ourselves. Emily's scare passed quickly, the baby strong, but our relationship hung in limbo. We drove home in silence, the city lights streaking past like accusations. That night, we talked until dawn, about the sacrifices, the betrayal of unspoken needs, the way love demanded more than secrecy. Jordan arrived unannounced the next morning with coffee, his loyalty unwavering as he mediated. You've both grown through this, he said. Now decide if the future includes honesty. His words echoed my own thoughts. The turning point wasn't the gaze or the texts. It was the choice to face the truth or let silence win. Weeks followed in a fragile rebuilding. We attended counseling sessions in a discreet office across town, the therapist guiding us through the layers of societal pressure and family expectations. My parents sensed something during a video call, probing about stress at work, their traditional values clashing with the reality I hid. Andre's family announced a surprise visit, forcing us to rehearse our roommate's story again. The baby grew, Emily sending updates that reminded us why we started this journey. Yet each kick on the monitor now carried the weight of decisions ahead. I found strength in small actions, holding Andre's hand openly during a walk in the park, ignoring the occasional stare. Growth emerged from the pain. I no longer saw myself as the insecure partner, but as someone fighting for acceptance, both from the world and from within. The friendship with Jordan deepened through it all, late-night talks revealing his own past struggles with loyalty in relationships. Rifts happen, he said one evening over beers. But real ones heal stronger. Andre and I began dating again in small ways. Dinners out where we didn't hide glances, planning the nursery with colors that felt like hope. The betrayal's sting faded, replaced by a quieter understanding. Still, the psychological scars lingered, teaching me that love wasn't absence of doubt, but the courage to choose each day. As winter approached and Emily's due date neared, the path forward cleared. Honesty with ourselves first, then perhaps the world. The secret pregnancy had tested us, but in the quiet aftermath, it also forged a new foundation, one built on truth rather than silence. The holiday lights twinkled along Seattle streets as December brought Emily's third trimester and our family's impending visits. Andre and I stood in the nursery we had finally painted together, soft grays and yellows, neutral for the child whose arrival would force changes we could no longer delay. The turning point from the hospital revelation had shifted something fundamental. We attended therapy weekly now, unpacking the layers of hurt. I wondered because I was drowning in the same silence you carry. Andre admitted one session, his hand in mine. The confession hurt, but it also healed, revealing how societal pressures amplified every glance into a crisis. My traditional family expectations loomed larger with my parents' plane tickets booked for Christmas. Just roommates for now. I rehearsed in the mirror, the words tasting like ash. Jordan proved his loyalty again by helping move furniture, his steady presence a reminder that friendships could endure rifts. "You've come far," he told me while assembling the crib. "Most guys run from this kind of truth." His words bolstered me as Andre's firm holiday party approached. We decided to attend together, subtly, as colleagues, but the night tested us. Ryan was there, professional and polite, yet the sight of him stirred old doubts. Andre noticed and pulled me aside. "He's just a consultant. You're my life." The reassurance landed differently now, grounded in actions rather than words. We danced once in the corner, a quiet claim amid the crowd, and for the first time in months, the gaze that once shattered us felt like a lesson learned. Christmas brought the real test. My parents arrived with suitcases and expectations, filling our apartment with Vietnamese dishes and questions. "When will you find a good woman, Alex?" my mother asked over dinner, her smile kind but rooted in generations of tradition. Andre played the perfect roommate, helping with bags and laughing at stories, but under the table his foot pressed mine in solidarity. The psychological strain peaked when they toured the nursery, assuming it was for a future niece or nephew. "Such a nice space for guests," my father said. I nodded, heart pounding, the secret pregnancy suddenly feeling like a ticking bomb. Andre's family called that evening from Texas, their voices warm yet probing about his bachelor life. We hung up and collapsed on the couch, the weight of dual worlds crushing. A serious misunderstanding arose days later when my mother found a sonogram printout I had left on the desk. "What's this, Con?" she asked, confusion turning to concern. I lied smoothly. "Emily's baby, a friend's," but the lie twisted something inside. Andre supported me through the explanation, yet later that night, he confronted the deeper issue. "We can't keep hiding forever. The baby deserves parents who stand together." His words echoed the sacrifice we both feared. Coming out meant risking family ties, but silence meant losing ourselves. Jordan mediated over coffee the next day, his fractured past with his own conservative parents offering perspective. "Acceptance starts with you," he said. The conversation sparked action. We drafted letters we weren't ready to send, outlining our truth in careful paragraphs. The climax built as Emily went into early labor on New Year's Eve, the city fireworks lighting the sky while we rushed to the hospital. In the delivery room, masked and gloved, Andre and I held her hands through contractions, our secret world colliding with reality. The baby, a boy we named Liam, arrived healthy at midnight, his cry cutting through years of silence. Holding him for the first time, I felt the full force of our journey. The misunderstandings, the betrayal of unspoken fears, the growth forged in fire. My parents, sensing the urgency, arrived the next day and met Liam under the guise of helping a friend. But as my mother cradled him, her eyes met mine with unspoken questions. Andre's family video called, their joy genuine yet filtered through distance. In the weeks that followed, decisions crystallized. We told Jordan first, his hug fierce with pride. Then, slowly, we opened circles at work, the reactions mixed but survivable. The societal pressure didn't vanish. Whispers followed, family calls grew tense, but each honest conversation chipped away at the walls. Emily recovered, her role shifting to aunt as we navigated co-parenting. The psychological consequences lingered in quiet moments, nightmares of loss, but also dreams of a future where Liam knew his dad's loved openly. Andre's gaze never wandered again. Instead, it anchored on us, a choice renewed daily. The secret pregnancy had been our crucible, transforming doubt into resilience. Spring bloomed across Seattle, cherry trees lining the streets as Liam's first months brought new rhythms to our lives. Andre and I had taken parental leave from our jobs, trading courtrooms and design deadlines for midnight feedings and diaper changes in the nursery that no longer felt like a secret. The major turning point at the hospital had reshaped us, but the aftermath demanded ongoing work. Therapy sessions continued, focusing on the ripple effects of that ultrasound gaze and the emotional betrayal it symbolized. It wasn't about Ryan, Andre explained one evening while rocking Liam. It was about fearing I'd lose parts of myself in the hiding. His honesty, once painful, now strengthened the bond, teaching me that love required vulnerability beyond romance. My parents extended their stay after Liam's birth, their traditional values clashing with the reality they slowly pieced together. One afternoon, as my mother watched me feed the baby, she asked quietly, "This is more than helping a friend, isn't it?" The question hung heavy, forcing the confrontation I had dreaded. Andre joined us, and together we shared the truth, our love, the surrogate choice, the years of silence. Tears followed, not all joyful. My father's disappointment echoed old expectations of marriage and grandchildren in the right way. Yet as days passed, small acceptances emerged, my mother knitting a blanket for Liam, my father offering to assemble the high chair. The psychological growth was profound. I no longer felt defined by their approval, but by the family we had built. Andre's family reacted differently when we flew to Texas for a visit in April. The conservative town and church pews amplified the stakes, but holding Liam softened the blow. His mother hugged us tightly, whispering, "We just want you happy." Societal pressures persisted, side glances at the grocery store, awkward questions from relatives, but we faced them united. Jordan flew out to join for support, his loyal presence a bridge during tense dinners. "You've turned the rifts into something stronger," he told us by the lake one evening. His friendship, tested but unbroken, reminded me of the relationships that endured. The climax peaked during a community event back in Seattle, a family festival where we brought Liam publicly for the first time. Colleagues and neighbors mingled, and when Andre kissed my cheek openly amid the crowd, the world didn't end. Instead, conversations started, some supportive, others cautious. The misunderstanding that once nearly destroyed us became the story we shared selectively, turning pain into advocacy. Emily visited often, her bond with Liam pure and uncomplicated, proving friendship could evolve without fracture. As summer approached, we planned a small commitment ceremony, not for show but for us, inviting only those who had earned the truth. Each decision carried consequences, strained family ties mended slowly, work adjustments for openness, personal peace earned through reflection. I journaled less about fear and more about gratitude, the journey from collapse to clarity teaching me that acceptance was internal first. Liam's laughter filled the apartment, a living symbol of the love that survived silence. Andre's eyes, once wandering, now held steady on our future, a promise renewed. Liam's first birthday party filled our backyard with balloons and laughter, friends, and a few family members gathered under the Seattle sun. The years since his birth had transformed the fractures into foundations, our once secret life now rooted in choices we owned. Andre grilled burgers while I chased our son across the grass, the emotional journey complete in ways I could never have scripted. Jordan stood by the fence, toasting with Emily, their presence a testament to loyal bonds that never broke. My parents had made the trip again, their acceptance still evolving, but genuine in small gestures like singing "Happy Birthday" in Vietnamese. Andre's family joined via video, waving at the screen with cautious warmth. The societal pressures that once defined us now felt distant, challenges met with the resilience we had earned. Looking back across the months, every misunderstanding, every revelation, every sacrifice had led here, to a family defined by love rather than fear. The gaze that shattered everything in that ultrasound room became the catalyst for truth, forcing us to confront identities we had hidden even from ourselves. Andre pulled me close as candles flickered on the cake, his whisper soft. "We made it." The words carried the weight of growth, decisions that shaped not just our future, but Liam's. Friends raised glasses, celebrating the journey of two men who chose acceptance over silence. As the party wound down and Liam napped in his crib, Andre and I sat on the porch watching the sunset paint the sound in gold. The path of self-discovery had been painful yet beautiful, proving that love between men could thrive amid traditional expectations and modern judgments. We had sacrificed comfort for honesty, faced betrayal's sting to emerge stronger, and turned psychological turmoil into profound understanding. The baby we carried in silence now laughed openly, our world no longer hidden. True or false? A single wandering gaze in the face of hidden love and societal pressure inevitably destroys a relationship, or can it become the spark that forges unbreakable acceptance?